What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's Captain Trucker here in New Mexico, Albuquerque. We had a nice live stream today. It's good to talk to you all. I was doing a video, live streams and shorts lately. But anyway, in today's video, I want to discuss why Americans, why we still do not understand the Philippines and other countries as well, the poor countries. And I want to get into some other stuff. I might go on some other random speeches. We'll see what happens. But, you know, folks, I hate to be so critical of my own countrymen. And there's so many positive qualities of the American culture. There really is. Like, most Americans are well-meaning people that are hard workers. And, you know, they would help their neighbors, I think. But then there's like, there's something that's happened to this country because it's a new country, and I don't think we realize that it's quickly, you know, from a pessimistic point of view, it is going downhill quite quickly, not just in terms of debt, because there's serious debt, as everybody knows, not just consumer debt, but the government's in debt. Everybody's in debt here, apparently. But there's like severe cultural problems that are not a joke, and it's not overrated. There's a severe, what they're calling like a mental health crisis in America. And I don't think people really understand that, like, a lot of the treatments for the supposed mental health stuff is actually making it worse. Like, half of the psychiatrists in this country in these drug companies should be brought up on criminal charges and, you know, not allowed to practice and so forth. There's a nice homeless guy right there. And I gotta film in something, but sorry, I'm filming. I'm filming. But I mean, like, most of them should be brought up. Sorry, I saw like a homeless person. But that's part of this discussion of today's video, is like, no, but this stuff with like the psychiatrist is crazy because there's like 1 in 4, 1 in 5 Americans taking like psychotropic medications to treat symptoms of supposed mental illness. Okay, so I don't think people realize, like, this culture is so materialistic to the core. To the core. That you have like regular people in debt because they're buying cars they can't afford. They live in houses they can't afford. And this is why they can't travel, they can't do things, they're stressed out. Like, it's become a very hostile country. And I don't get why we, like, here in the West, we think we deserve this, we deserve that, we deserve to be happy. But that happiness and all that success stuff, it's always material based. And this is the part, like, I was talking about minimalism and like people living in cars, why it's not the worst idea for our culture. I didn't say to live in a car forever, and I didn't say to be homeless forever. But for some people, it can be a good opportunity to save money. But it's not just the money part. It's like a training, especially for people that want to become expats, or if they want to live in another country, or like live in the Philippines, or live in these other foreign lands where you're not going to have the same bougie material lifestyle. That's why the whole living in the car thing can be a good option in a warm culture, obviously. But like the pushback of that's interesting because it's like split. Like, some people get it and some people are just like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Like, this is guy Bill writing on the channel, and he's just like, oh, I grew up from that. Why don't you just go get a job, get a trade job. It's always like, in America, it's always like, get a job, get a job, get a job. It's like work, you know? There's so much pride in the materialism that they'll leave their brothers on the streets and they'll put their moms in a nursing home if they can afford it. That's the way it goes here. And like what the Americans don't get, some of them, like the Joneses, is that like some people actually like their brothers and sisters and their parents. They actually like living with them, you know? And it's almost like, in like the Philippines, for instance, it would be almost like an embarrassment if you happen to be like a big money maker in your family and you didn't give back or you didn't take care of your parents or something like that, like that's something that some cultures are proud to do. It's not like a burden on them. And it's not all about the money. We make so much here about money, and that's the part that like we're missing. Because I mean, yes, we're in debt and stuff like this, but consumers still have the opportunity not to spend all their money. Okay, so there needs to be like a radical change in this culture. Yeah, but like this guy Bill, he's the brainwash is so deep on this material stuff that like they can't grasp the concept of living minimally, because we've been such conditioned to like live in like stuff we can't afford, basically, in like big houses. A lot of the middle class, like they're wannabe kings and queens. That's why they're willing to go into debt, because they're living beyond their means, and they look down on the lower class, and they look down on the homeless. That's part of what they think keeps them in power. And the upper class is just laughing at these people because they're pulling all the strings. And of course, the lower class is getting all the government benefits, and some of them are really smart because they're like, I'm not going to do all that work. What's the point, right? So we get a lot of, angry men, especially in families. And, nobody can spend time with their children in this country. So the mental health crisis is a real thing. And we got people going around in this country shooting up schools and shooting up, like, people with these random shootings. I remember the first time this happened, because now it's a common event. Like, it's common in America now for people to go out randomly with an assault rifle and just start unloading on the public. It's like, it's almost becoming like they happen so often. The first time it happened, like in 1999, I think the first time, like Columbine, it was such a shocker. They were like, I can't believe this could happen in America. But are we really that shocked? It's a mentally ill culture, and the way they're trying to treat it is making people more mentally ill. It's insanity. And this is why Americans just don't get like the Philippines. They don't understand like these other countries or these third world countries they can't relate to. They can't get past the material. It's always material. And that's what makes them stupid, according to some other like nations or whatever. Not that they're the smartest. I mean, there's plenty of stupid Brits and Europeans, but they go to the Philippines. It's so deeply rooted. They don't get it. That's the value of life here, is the material. It's not the family. It's the car. It's the house. And like, so like, your typical American or one of us who has never been to the Philippines, like, you're going to look at like, they look at the photos, they look at like the conditions, and they're like, oh my God, those poor people. And even the people that have good intentions and stuff that want to help, they're not conditioned to these countries. And like some of these retirees that go out there, they don't get it either. And they carry that same, colonial king wannabe stuff to like the Philippines. And then you'll get a guy in the community bragging about his 3 bathrooms to anybody who will listen, like any Filipino, like an American. You get these Americans that go over there and they'll build like big houses. The British do it too. Europeans do it too. But it's like they'll build stuff they can't afford because they start to lose their mind over there because they get attention from women. Their dollar goes farther, and some of them like go completely nuts. But they end up doing the same thing. Like they'll get in debt, or because they realize they build this big house, but they can't sell it because there's no one to sell it to. So what I was trying to say is like people should be ready to be able to appreciate these countries in other places for what they are. And that's why it's a good idea for Americans to start living in their cars in a warm culture. You got to drive south. And it's not a stupid idea. It's not immature for our people like Bill. Like this guy, he's so convinced. He's like, he does that like emoji smiling, crying thing. Cause like he's looking at me going like, who's this like He's saying like he matured. So for him, like, maturity is material based. It's like working a job full time and buying a house and all that, not living in your car. Only like foolish, immature people would do that, right? That's the way he sees it. And the irony is like people like Bill, since their whole judgment based is like material, like I would compare our net worth, I'm probably worth a lot more than him. That's the irony. But I don't care, because that's not the point. They're missing the point. The reasons Filipinos and other cultures don't necessarily put their parents in nursing homes and throw away the key, it's not all money based. Like they actually do, they, believe it or not, Filipinos enjoy, many of them, being around their brothers and sisters and family. And that's something that we also miss. They're smiling despite the poverty and material whatever. Americans carry heaviness. They're carrying baggage. They're angry. They're stressed out. You got to get rid of the stuff. And, you know, there's always like, if you have families and kids, that's an issue too. I mean, I'm not going to tell people what to do, but it's like, you're not necessarily doing your kids any favors to teach them how to be like brainwashed, materialistic slaves. I mean, come on. It's not extremism. It's not. That's the problem we don't get as Americans. And that's what like makes us stupid, is that we have the power, we have the opportunity. Our currency, relatively, despite the world inflation, is still relatively strong. And yet you guys keep wasting the money. And so there's also that thing of like, you know, there's some Americans that consider like expat traitors. Like, I would consider some expats to be more patriotic than your average, not your average, but some Americans who go into slave debt and put their parents in nursing homes type of thing. That's not very American to me. So, yeah, I mean, more people I talk to. I mean, I was fortunate to come from a decent family, but I meet people from like these crazy families. You hear so many drama stories. Like, it's not a secret anymore. Like, the mental illness in this culture is the new normal. When you have 1 in 4, 1 in 5 people taking drugs to control these supposed symptoms of mental illness, which isn't even necessarily real. Psychiatry is a joke. It's not real science. The DSM, the Diagnostic Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, is basically like an in-depth fortune cookie of symptoms that was created, I think, by the APA and some other people, but it's designed to support these drug companies that are making billions of dollars off drugging up America, okay? And these psychiatrists, half of them are drug pushers. They're part of the problem. It's a cultural issue. It's a spiritual issue. It's a family issue. And I'm really concerned for the future of this country. And it's not that I'm encouraging people to leave this country and go live in the Philippines and other places, but you can still be a good American patriot and pay your taxes and do good things and get out of this country if you need to. And I would say that's okay to do, and that's what some of us should do. It's a very hostile place. It really is. So take care of yourselves, and, you know, be good to the Filipinos, be good to each other, be good to your fellow Americans. Rock and roll, I guess. I think rock and roll was created in America. Anyway, guys, it's Captain Trucker, man. I mean, it's a subscribe, like. We're growing the channel. I've been doing like more live streams lately. I've been enjoying them. I've been enjoying doing the shorts. And yeah, we're gonna make this happen. We're gonna get things done. This is the beginning of like new stuff. Absolutely. And I got some other stuff coming up to talk to you all about. I couldn't squeeze it all in this video. I gotta stay on topic kind of. But anyway, please subscribe, guys, like, take care of yourselves, be good to each other. Bye-bye.